Hi everybody, welcome to the Rebel News channel. Today we're gonna do a full review of the Saberforge ASP Graflex. And welcome back. Now we're gonna take a closer look on the Saberforge ASP Saber. So this is my iteration of the Graflex. Now your Graflex can look totally different than mine. And the reason why I choose these parts will come due when I speak about them individually. So let's start with taking a closer look before we start disassembling this baby. So we have the side view, the Graflex iteration from Saberforge looks really nice. Most parts are just dummy parts, they're just for aesthetics, but they don't really work the same way as on a real Graflex. For example, this is a single mill piece, there's no glass eye there or something. I don't think it's even screwed in, it's just piece glued in or something on this hilt. Then we have the brass pins, which seems to be pretty sturdy. Installed there. You see some dabs of glue on the bottom, but it's not too bad. And then we have a retention screw for the blade. The bunny ears are just screwed in. It's like an Ultra Sabers type of bunny ear thing. It's not screwed in tight, straight, so I have to redo that a little bit. As you can see, the ears are slightly angled this way, which is not very nice. And then we have the button. Is again, this is a fake dummy button. It resembles sort of the original Graflex button that was here. You can remove by undoing this, and actually you don't have to do that, but you can just remove this piece and then you can take that out, which is also the retention screw for the blade, for the LED. Sorry, I should say that. Okay. And then the socket, ASP Graflex blade block. I don't like this blade block. I think it's a very ugly blade block, so I'm gonna replace that for a blade block from KR Sabers. And this piece, unlike the original Graflex, which is actually tied in with the bunny ears going through the body section, and then basically it's loose dangling. That's not the case with this. It's just tight. It's just for aesthetic looks again. And this part can be removed, I believe, and then you can install a tactile switch if you want for secondary sounds or whatnot, if your soundboard supports that. I might explore that. And then we have, so this is the Saberforge Graflex emitter. Then we go to the Saberforge Redeemer body. That's the brass greebly here, another greebly here, the other end has nothing. And then the control box, taking out this piece here. Now Saberforge glues it up on the switch, so I just removed the glue portion. You see here is the dab of glue which held this piece in place. I'm gonna replace it. I'm gonna follow the tip from Shamin. He actually uses a magnet, so I'm gonna do the same, and then I can keep sliding off and on this piece if I want to. This piece is actually made of plastic. It's not the best quality. It's flexible, so it helps when pushing down on the button, but yeah, you see Saberforge scratched this down to make a little bit more gripping area for the glue, but it's okay. It's not the most pleasant looking control box piece, but it will do. And then we have two holes, one for the let's say recharge port and one for the latching or momentary switch. In this case, Saberforge tossed in the latching switch for free because it was glued on that this control box piece here. Now, one thing that I don't like, and that's with most Graf-like type of control boxes, that this piece will always be just hanging loose in there. So unless you use a glue or a magnetic solution, this will fall off very easy and you will lose it. And then the side parts here, this is also one Saberforge problem, is these things always fall off. See a lot of people having issues, these things fall off on the sides, these L panels. Not sure why they're actually there, because the milling of the control box is already in L shape. So I don't know, it makes it a little bit softer because the material is a little bit softer than the alloy milled, the cut alloy. but I might remove it, I don't know yet. And then we go to the bottom section, and that is the Vengeance, Saberforge Vengeance body. I preferred this Vengeance body over the Saberforge Graflex body because I wanted something that was a little bit sleeker to the eye and hand. Plus it has less of these so-called rubber grips, which are actually just alloy grips, which makes the hilt heavy as well. But I like that, I like it being heavy. And then we go to the bottom section. We have the ASP Graflex pommel with the D-ring, and actually it looks very nice. It looks sturdy, it looks like a proper D-ring. It's nice and tight and snug. I actually have a D-ring and a Covertech wheel. They actually, Saberforge installed the Covertech wheel without asking what choice I wanted, because this is the Vengeance body. With the Graflex body you probably won't get the Covertech wheel, so if you want to have a free Covertech wheel and you didn't like the ASP Graflex body anyway, this is a small bonus you get, because you get the Covertech wheel. So overall it looks quite nice. This is also how I would like to have my saber look like. I want to have the control box located on the side like this, and then the main body here with the shroud facing outwards, and then the body like this. So when I hold it, it will be something in this line. I just want to have it on the side, a little bit different than what other people maybe like, but then again, that's the beauty of ASP, you can configure it the way you want. And here we go at the bottom. So what I will do now, I'm gonna undo the different pieces, show you the individual pieces from the inside, and then I show you the 3D rendering as per the Saber Parts website, so you can see how close they are in terms of actual parts versus what was being rendered on their website. So starting with the emitter section. Emitter section is just I think 1/2 inch screw wire. Then we have the inside. It looks like by the look of it, the inner diameter is smaller because the ring is tapered here, but it looks like it's also solid, so it looks like they milled it in this way. It doesn't feel like this is an insert, like a ring they placed inside this section here. I don't know why this is smaller here. Not really a big issue because the LED, let me see, is that correct? Actually the LED is housed there, yeah. So it may be a little bit of a tricky placement to get the LED in there snugly, but yeah, we will see. So the LED will be housed around here, so it will exceed around here, so there isn't much. The socket is actually not very deep, because if the LED for a retention screw is here and this is the blade socket with retention screw, you can see it's like less than 1 centimeter, less than 1 inch, 1/2 inch. So this won't be a dueler in my opinion, because the blade socket will be very shallow. Let's see if I can show you some more the inside, get some light here. Here we go. Here we go. So yeah, decent finish on the inside as well, like nice and smooth, nothing weird there. Place this aside, and then we get the control section. Now please bear in mind, I already added some of those shims, so there's a shim here. Let's see if it's correct. Yeah, there's a shim here. There's a very thin shim. So here's the threading, is 1/2 inch as well. Then we have the control section, which is removable by removing this screw. And then you have two locations for the switches, or retention screw switch. Recharge port switch. So this is the Saberforge switch that came with it, with a DIN connector. Yeah, I don't really gonna need it anyway. I don't like DIN connectors, but yeah, it is there. So you see the line, the hole doesn't line fully up with the control box. I have to slightly adjust it, as you can see. It's just a minor thing, I just like to align that properly. And then we have the inside. Some scratches back and forth, but nothing too serious. Then the other side. So so it's a male female threading. And then the greeblies are actually fit shallow inside the hilt, so they don't screw in very deep, so they might even be glued in. I'm not sure yet at this point. Okay, and then we go to the mid section, and let me just take out the pommel really quick. Then we're gonna take a look at that and then wrap it up. So here we go. And this is the body. You can see all the holes for these metals or alloy struts. It's all smooth inside. Nothing wrong there. There is a, as you can see, there is a, yeah, well, it's hard to show, but there is a cutout here where I hold my finger, and that is actually to keep the potential sound insulation of the speaker in place. So you will put it in here because this is the this is a channel for the C clip. Can I show you? Here we go. Yeah, you can see the channel there. It's milled out, and then the bottom retention screw. The screw for the cover tech wheel is way too long. You have to cut it down because that will interfere with the potential chassis that you want to install to house your electronics if you wish to do that. And then we got the pommel. Here we go. Nice pommel. Nothing too fancy, but it's a nice pommel. I like it. So here you go. This is the Saberforge ASP close-up. Let's go to the verdict area. Welcome back. I hope you liked the in-depth view of the Saberforge Graflex, which is of course based roughly on an actual Graflex, but doesn't really cut it in terms of being 100% accurate or even 80% accurate. But that's not the point. The point is taking a look at the Saberforge ASP offering in general, and how do I feel about it at the moment. I personally, I would say the Graflex of $150 for a empty hilt is priced pretty reasonable. I think the quality of the individual parts are not that bad. They're not that good either, but they're definitely not as bad as I would expect them to be. I think it's a decent price range. I also think for Saberforge and perhaps other Saber companies in the future, this is more future-proof for them. The reason for that is they design a hilt, they bring it on the market, but they bring it in the market in an ASP form. What that benefits is that they can just have customers mix and match any of the hilts they already have. So they already make the design, they already have the physical milling process in place, they know how to mill those parts, they know how to create them, etc, 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 and that gives more flexibility to their customers to either buy a complete ASP let's say Graflex, or mix match several parts to come up with their own iteration of the Graflex, instead of having to look at other Saber companies to get a desired Saber design, because you can more or less create the design that you have in your mind with, for example, the Saberforge ASP system. And I think that's a very smart move. And of course they're not the first one. Let's not forget there are a lot of companies that went before them and originally came up with that idea. This is the Saberforge iteration of that idea. Most famously, I would say the Custom Saber Shop has their own system. It's, I believe, called MHS. It's a very famous system, and it's basically more or less identical in what Saberforge does. Only Saberforge has the proprietary sizing that is only compatible between Saberforge products. So of course they want to make sure that they're the only one can add extensions or different parts to their Saber parts together to make sure they have that monopoly in that perspective, and they keep it in their own system so nobody else can share on that success from Saberforge. So all in all, I think it's a decent saber. I'm not too happy with how shallow the threads are. There are basically 3 threads each section. I don't feel it's very sturdy. Some of the greeblies on some of the saber parts, they're glued in. They're not made of a very high quality. They do look and feel a little bit flimsy, and this particular has to do with the greeblies. And then I get back to the fact that this is price pointed at around $150. It's yeah, I would say it's decent. It's not the best. Will I buy more Saberforge ASP sabers? And that's gonna really depend. Will Saberforge push towards having all their hilts in ASP form, and going forward only provide them in ASP form? Because, for example, I would love to have a Saberforge Rebel, a Kanon Jarrus lightsaber from the current Star Wars Rebels TV series. I would love to have one. Currently sold out at Saberforge. No idea if they're gonna restock it, but they already had 2 of the 4 parts for that complete hilt on their ASP website. So it looks like they're gonna move towards direction and have everything made in their ASP database. So you can get any part you want and mix match your own saber. But then again, I must say that construction wise it feels a little bit wonky because you have to do some work yourself. What I will do in the next video is actually a stunt install. So we're gonna install a Tri-Cree blue LED. We're gonna install a different latching switch, and we're gonna insert a 18650 3.7 battery with battery holder, and we're gonna do that together, make a video of it, and then assemble it. And I'm gonna assemble it in a way that it's semi-permanent. I'm gonna use Loctite on the screw section, on the screw wire section, because I just don't like how it feels now. Because all these separate parts move individually in different directions. So if you don't use like a Loctite solution or tied it up very tight, it will get loose very easy, and it feels just wonky at all directions. And that's one gripe I have with a system like this, is because there's only 3 threads, it unthreads very easy, and as soon as you pass that first thread, the 2 sections in between, because it's only 1-2 threads, it's very wobbly already. Like if you have 4, 5, 6 threads, the first 2 threads get loosened up, it wouldn't be that wobbly from the start. So that is something that I don't personally prefer. Plus I just like to have hilts that are very solidly constructed, and I don't feel it very solid constructed with this Saberforge ASP. It is definitely a looker. I love how it looks, very streamlined. It has the remnants of a Graflex. Of course it's not exactly a Graflex. If you're a Graflex purist, you're not gonna look at the Saberforge ASP, period. And people will argue, well, you shouldn't call it an ASP and a Graflex. Well, that might be true. That is not me, of course. That is Saberforge giving it this name, because of course Saberforge want to lean a little bit on the success of the Graflex, because especially with the Force Awakens, the Graflex has made a massive comeback in the saber industry. Would I recommend anyone to get a Saberforge ASP saber? Yeah, absolutely, go for it, get one. I would say go for one that is designed by yourself. Don't go, for example, let's say a Saberforge Gladius in ASP form. I say just buy an ASP directly. I feel that pre-assembling a pre-assembled saber is a little bit sturdier and it feels a little bit better to the hand. I also think for the ASP line, if you buy a MT like myself, or you buy a warrior tier or champion tier, there is still quite a small bit of work that you have to do yourself. It isn't just like screwing these parts together with the timing shims, putting the electronics, and that's it. The product isn't that rigid enough to just say that's it, because it is not, it's just not that streamlined yet. I mean, the electronics, yes, those are drop-in electronics, but the parts, etc., it still requires some proper aligning, proper making sure that's secured by semi-permanent gluing the halves together, for example, or tied it up with, let's say, rubber wrenches, very tight, so you can have a very good grip with the rubber of the wrenches and then tight it up. But yeah, but that also gonna defeat a little bit the purpose of having an ASP saber. If it's semi-permanent glued together, it's not like, oh, I take off this emitter and put it on my other saber, so today my 4th or 5th ASP saber looks totally different than the day before. Because it's a sort of the idea is a sort of like having a Lego blocks, and then you just mix and match the Lego blocks to create random sabers. So you can have like 2-3 different ASP sabers, and then you can make like 9-12 combinations out of those 3 sabers, for example, whatever. I see that idea, but I would say it's semi doable. And also really gonna depend what you want to do with these sabers. Heavy dueling, in this case, the Graflex from ASP, from Saberforge. Hell no, I wouldn't do any heavy dueling with this. The way it come now, like just by locking up the threads and putting the electronics. No, definitely not. I wouldn't say this is secure and sturdy enough to go do heavy dueling with it. Spinning, of course, that's a different story. There's a big control box on the top. I wouldn't say just go spin with it either, but that's a personal thing. For you, it can be very different, of course. I do see the potential in the Saberforge ASP line. I'm not entirely sure if I will purchase more ASP sabers, to be honest. Unless, of course, the Saberforge Rebel comes fully available in the ASP shop, then I will definitely get one, because I just want to have a Rebel. But for other sabers from Saberforge, I just ordered directly an empty from the website that is non-ASP. I don't feel the need to have different parts that I can mix max and to create new sabers. I did that with the ASP. I did that on their website, on the ASP website. So I generated this, and this was the mindset I had, my preference on how I would like to have my Graflex look like if I had a Graflex. For now, I just do the verdict. I say the Saberforge ASP line is interesting enough to jump on board, test out the waters, get a hilt, get a maybe one with electronics. I don't like the Saberforge Sabercore soundboard, that you know that, guys. But then again, it's not horrible. It's not horrible, but I feel it's just a little bit too expensive for what you get compared with competitors. So yeah, that is my verdict. It's a little bit an open book. It's a little bit an open door in terms of my verdict, but when we do the electronic install, we might run into some more issues or difficulties or things that I should mention, and then you have a full picture about Saberforge ASP sabers, and particular this iteration of the Graflex that is my iteration. So hopefully see you in the next video. Stay scummy and take care.